Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm so excited to have Aaron Draplin, and I messed up. So I was an hour early. He said El Paso time. I thought El Paso time was Central time, but this is what I love about Aaron Draplin is that he just rolls with it, and he's so much helpful, and he's like, we'll just do it. And so he just got some water, so y'all be super nice to him, and just thanks again, Aaron, for doing this super early, a whole hour extra early, because I don't know where El Paso is.
Last night, laying there, I worked late when we got into the room here, and laying there, it was just out of nervousness. I set up for 8:15 their time, just because wires get crossed. And on this book tour, I'm trying to look at time zones and things and figure out stuff, trying to, but, okay. Does everything sound okay? I'm doing a special mic check, mic check on this tour. Should I do it right now?
Sure.
Okay. Special one, mic check, 1, 2. May Donald Trump die in his sleep. Check 1, 2. May he choke on his hair. Check 1, 2. How's that sound? Does that sound okay?
I think that sounded okay. Yeah, no beard scruff. It was good.
Okay, good. All right, what's next?
Okay, so I'm assuming a lot of people know, but you are on this book tour, and this is a great book, and it's actually filled with lots of images. But I'm reading word for word, and I'm a really slow reader. So this is where I am, the small section.
Cool.
I kind of got the history. And I'm like writing in it, of course, because that's how I take notes.
Okay.
But that is one of my favorite, the Cole stuff so far. Like beautiful, absolutely. And I guess it's just kind of that. I snowboarded not professionally. I was just a little dorky snowboarder, but I loved it, and it's something I definitely miss. But I love the stories. You're a terrific storyteller. So. Maybe somebody here doesn't know who you are, and so I always like to kind of give it to, like, my mom would maybe know who you are. So maybe tell us a little bit about your background, and then where your love for design, when you can remember it, really started.
Okay, well, Aaron James Draplin, 43 years old. I'm from Michigan. I was raised in Michigan, born in Detroit. As soon as I could, we went all the way out west because our first sort of loves were skateboarding and snowboarding. And I'd say our would be all me and my buddies, right? Out of high school, 2-year degree, 17 to 19, class of 91. Look at us growing up. All right. You're 2 years, you have 2 months on me, all the respect in the world. My eyebrows hurt these days. At 43 years old, very weird. But as soon as we got out west, you start to see, the haves and the have-nots and stuff. And really, I was analog the whole time. So I was drawing and stuff. And then I needed a computer. I started going to Alaska to make money for, these pursuits, these tools, let's just say. And as soon as 5 winters went by and we were living like animals with all my buddies out west, I went back to art school because I thought you had to go. I thought it was like a credential you had to have, right? But that wasn't necessarily the deal. It was more like you see the business behind it. But I was so glad to go back to Minneapolis to go to art school. So here's the thing is, my love for design, it came out of a very pragmatic thing, which was I had to make a living, right? I had to, that wasn't very fashionable to say at some review or something. I was supposed to tell the world that I was going to change the world with this mouse finger. Let me show you how gross that thing is. Just look at it. Just really get in there tight. It is gross. I think it's not going to wash, man. This has been a long tour. And it comes from this place of like understanding that I'm going to have to work. And if I could be so lucky to enjoy, almost indulgent to think that I could enjoy my job, that's not something that I was allowed to think like growing up. It's more like, I don't know how to say it. It's weird. It's like now, like I knew I had to bake a little cake. And then if you get to ice it, just one little layer of icing, and it's like, I want to like my job. Like now my cake is still this. I figured it out. And it's got, 2 feet of icing on a 3-inch cupcake. things are insane. So how, just even knowing that, like, I was cool with just working a job.
Mm-hmm.
I was cool with trying to figure out how to get myself into graphic design. I was cool with saying, okay, I understand it. This is what it takes to make a living. And then this is how I'm going to enjoy this stuff, and understanding how the two work together. And then when they started to kind of slam, and then it was just about like, I can make a living and love it. That's the way it's been for over a decade now, right? But if that ever went away, I mean, it sounds weird, but if that ever went away, I understand how to hustle and take it on the chin, and have a boss push you around,
Right?
have a boss big league you. I know how to handle that. It's not, that's life. That's life. I just reacted. I reacted and tried to creatively put it together, to say, could I do this without having to, I don't know, not like it along the way. I've loved it along the way.
So do you remember as a kid, like, I mean, you talked about some things in the book, but like, do you remember there were certain things that you just locked in on? Was it like skateboard graphics, or was it certain magazines, or was there something that kind of sparked it in the beginning?
Yeah, well, I think what it was a weird little sense of modernism. Mm-hmm. I was in northern Michigan, so we didn't have big stores in our little town of Central Lake, Michigan.
Right.
There was a store there called Bachman's, and their slogan was, if we don't have it, you don't need it. It's not like they had Legos there, right? So when we would go to the one town an hour away, that was your chance to see the world. So from a 7-year-old or 8-year-old perspective, you're in some toy store and you're looking at the boxes. And I remember Lego boxes feeling so crisp and modern, and let's just say from a very naive 8-year-old or 10-year-old or 7-year-old stance, it's like it felt sophisticated. Okay, yet the stuff on the box was like a space shuttle, and that to me was like, that's my first taste Helvetica. But that's different. That's different than like the things I saw around me, which were kind of rural, or, I mean, we're talking just graphic design. So my parents, what little they could do, my parents had like a couple sets of these DANSK dance cups.
Oh, right.
And they were these really simple, and it was the Heller Mignelli stuff. And, those were very utopian in their design. And I remember understanding how they fit together and how they felt in your hands, and the colors were really simple and primary. And that was different than sort of like, the folkier stuff we grew up on. So it's like those first tastes that there's this other world out there. I was pretty young. My dad explained to me how Helvetica worked and stuff. And I mean, you can see it on the side of a space shuttle and then see it on your Lego box. So,
right.
I don't know. I sort of coveted, I don't know. When you look back now, you look at like on a Star Wars box, you see the same stuff, But I had an appreciation for those things, So I was like a little packaging designer already at 11. Oh, you guys should have seen me at 11. Oh, some kids are cute. No, not the deal here. Okay, look at I'm checking in with all the people. There's Lenny. Of course he is. Lenny, sober up. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Lenny. Sober up. Okay, everybody.
So Kevin Cates, he's at University of Arkansas in Little Rock, and he and I were at a conference last weekend, and you were in his slide presentation. Honestly, Kevin, I can't even remember exactly what it was about working outside of the United States, or doing work, helping people, I think is what he was. It was about helping people. And so he really kind of took this altruistic view. So Kevin's going to love that I'm giving him some kudos here. So, and I love Kevin. He's really funny. And there was a picture of you and Kevin was really excited. And so you had talked about Cobra dogs to him. You had told him this story. And really, it reminded me about the story from Alaska, kind of, in a way, because you were kind of like sticking it to the man because they were making your friends, these other really hardworking carnies, kind of live in a way that they didn't need to live and didn't have to live, but they were just kind of held down and because they didn't know any better. And maybe that was the way, but I feel like you helping people is, and you doing this book tour and helping all these students, you go to a ton of schools. I feel like you're a really amazing designer, but you're also a really good inspiration, a good motivator. You're a great storyteller, but you really help a lot of people. Yes.
I come, it's a weird thing. Well, cool. Thank you. I mean, I'm just really thankful to do any of this stuff, and the idea that, yes, on this tour, profit is not a dirty word. Okay. It's not all that dirty of a word. And we're trying to make a profit to where I can, at the end of this, take a little bit of time off. But let's just say, when I was done, there was just enough gas in the van, and my next rent, whatever, check was paid or something. I would still do it. I covered myself long enough ago to where it's all the icing right now.
Right.
But see, growing up, my mom and dad, without getting too deep into all that stuff, like my dad just liked to help people, be it when you're 11 years old, and it's Christmas time and your parents kind of tell you, okay, this is going to be a bit of a rough winter because of Christmas, because there's 4 families that we have talked to someone at the school, and like, you could not do this anymore. My dad would go to my buddy's dad, who was a principal, and would say, hey, who needs some help? And then my dad would organize these like super kits of like Christmas kits, like of a turkey, staples, so they get a nice big Christmas dinner. My sister and I would like pick out toys for little boys or toys for little girls, based on sort of like the ages, general thing.
Right.
But my dad would, get these families together to help 4 or 5 families. Then my dad would go and he would drop off this food on like December 20th or something. And these super packages. And then, we just, like, I was like this little kid in the back of my dad's like van watching, these women, collapsing kind of on this, like, just like, and my dad is helping people. So now that's not necessarily what I'm doing here with graphic design, but we grew up around that sort of culture. And I don't know if it's service. It's not anything church-based, nothing, none of this superstition. God.
But you're just helping people.
This was just like my dad saying, we have it good, which I come to find out they didn't have a lot. I didn't know any of that. I knew that everything was okay, and it wasn't, totally perfect, but it was like we had each other. We had Legos and cool things and bikes, but we had mom and dad, and we had, discipline, and we had, like Pizza Friday or whatever the hell it was. I remember these things. So, I don't know. How do I apply that to graphic design? It's the idea of never being afraid of some kind of bottom line. I am trying to watch my language. It is taking all my strength. Let me just say something. I'm not going to do it. I'm saying it behind my hand.
Okay.
But, you run into people who are, it's just about them. Mm-hmm. It's not even their fault. It's like they have families, they have things, they have stuff. I've run into that in graphic design. And it wasn't about, it's just like, I just wanted to see if I could be open to this process, to be like, there's never, I can find time to stop and talk. I can find time to laugh with a client and freak out about something, instead of it being a world dictated by a bunch of emails and messages and basically bleep decorum. Who taught us this stuff? You know, when you open these things, you know, I don't know who taught us these things. Well, some business did. And you know, if you like that, cool. You know, I mean, this is just about an entire life trying to skirt the bottom line of like, this is the fault, and this is how you're going to live your life. And if you go here, it gets a little trickier. If you go here, you're losing money by chance. If you go here, you're going to spend your life standing in line talking to a bunch of little rack design kids who have questions about how do you get to do what you want to do. I'll do it all day long because no one did it for me.
Right.
That's kind of long answer. Sorry.
So your dad was a great example of giving back. But like as a designer, don't you feel like we get to make somebody's dream come true? Like when your friends come to you and say, hey, I want to start a business. Are you interested in helping me? Or somebody that you don't know comes up and says, you know, like I have this idea and I would really like you to do it. Or, you know, I have this idea, because I feel like we're dream makers in a way, because sometimes these small companies come to us as designers and maybe they can't afford our huge price, but maybe we do a friends and family discount or something like that because we feel, and we can't do that always. We do have to make a living and nobody's paying our power bill with love, you know, but I feel like you've done that. It's not like, and I feel like you've done that consistently throughout your time. You haven't been too good for some people, you know?
Well, there's just this sense of like, when you look back at your life, okay. I'm not going to name any names.
Okay.
I'm not going to, good morning, Lee. Good morning, Lee. Say hello to everybody, Lee. Yeah, see, look at that. Now, I'm not going to name any names though. It's just in Austin, Texas. And you have a really odd situation where you have a hero of yours and one of their clients. And now what do you know the hero as? Like doing good design work. And then then you get to meet their client who tells you things like, they leveraged us and they said, if you don't have this much budget, and it was not $5,000, it was start adding some zeros any which way, start adding 100 to that. Okay, so you have some lyric about if the client didn't have $150,000 and $150,000, like they're not even gonna look at the job. And these aren't big entities on this hand who are saying we're being leveraged against. Now, okay, if they think that they can only take a job for 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever this money is, then that's on them. I didn't want that kind of life where I was going to say, like, I know you can't take a bag of Cool to the bank, Wells Fargo here in El Paso, I show up a little bag of Cool, but the guy say, look at this face. I'm a graphic designer. Here, pay my rent with all. No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Maybe if you're Mike Jones. Maybe if you're Mike Jones and you show up with a bag of Mike Jones, they pay your mortgage with that stuff. Maybe, I don't know. But I just didn't want that kind of life where instantly, like, because here's the thing, you hear the exchange about, like, it just made me squirm because before anyone talked about, like, the yeses, it was one big honking no, we won't do it for that price. Like, that's before anyone even talked about what it could be, it's already no. Like, what kind of adversarial quality is that? So here's the thing, how do you want to live your life?
Right.
And I saw that from a young age. And I saw that when the first job I did, the guy took me for it. He took me for something. He knowing, this is 1994 or 5. I was doing illustrations for something. And it was like the guy could say, you want 15 an hour? I'll give you 14. Like, just I hope he already died, wherever that guy is at. I hope he did. It wasn't necessarily him, the car on fire around him. It was the meteor when it hit him, and then he hit the truck. When it finally happened, it's like I just stopped myself and said, I just don't want to be around this. I want to be in a situation where someone can come to me and say, we're a little band. They don't have any money. Because when you look back at your life, this is one of the biggest things I learned. The smallest little tiny fun jobs can become the biggest, greatest thing in your arsenal. And you said Cobra Dogs. That's just helping your buddy. So now, what about when you go be proactive with that sense of like, we're just going to help people with our mouse fingers, and you reach out. Now listen, I've been around some nonprofit things where, you know, there's people and emails and boardrooms and business casual and all that. I know, but you know, it's like, what about if just someone calls and says, we like what you do and we heard you work for free. Like I sat with a kid just yesterday, who had no money at this MondoCon in Texas, in Austin, had no money, liked what I did. And I just told him, I'll do your logo. I don't care if there's any money. He could be a billionaire's son, or he could be pretty much what I knew he was, which was a kid who just had some dreams. So to answer your question, I'm sorry I'm talking long, we could absolutely affect someone's chances to make it. And that shouldn't necessarily only be if they can afford it.
Right. So love that. We're here to listen to you. So we're good. You can go on and on. All right. So I kind of think you answered this one already, but why do you think helping people? So if you were telling, you know, you're on the book tour, you're talking about a lot of things. I heard you had a new talk last week. Maybe you did a new talk, complete new talk. So it gets around. But why do you think helping people and helping their businesses grow, I mean, that's really what we do as designers, has been important to you, whether you're doing it for free or you're doing it for pay. Either way, it can be I think it's cool.
I think it's just about like, how do you want to plant the seeds? Now there's two worlds here. Now let's get real clear that, you know, someone comes to you, I'm looking for an example. They come to you with this thing and they say, we are this. Now this is different than my buddy who has, you know, I don't know what, you know, makes posters and needs little poster designers. That's different. This is a real company. Right. There's people and stuff and things and shipping and receiving and payable and all these things.
Right.
And the idea is like, listen, you're not just going to say, let's do whatever you guys want for free. No. You compromise, you work on a price. And then when you get going and you're paid even relatively fairly, how do you want to plant that seed? Do you want them to, like, when they're done with whatever they could pay you for that job, do you want them to come back to you and be like, not only do we want to do this, we want to do the packaging. We want them to do you know, the advertising and the things and the stuff. And it just comes down to like, I just never want to be the kind of person that would miss an opportunity because I was trying to exact some kind of non-scientific price out of somebody. Sometimes, like, what about all the times when I didn't say anything and they offered me 3 times whatever I thought my scientific price was? Right. That's where the universe does a little bit of, you know, in the end, let's hopefully keep it right here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like when you work on a Nike project and it's 10 times what it ought to be, but you're working for world-class work, that's where it kind of like Robin Hoods towards other things. You know? And I don't know, this is your life, you know? And it's like, you know, I don't know what it is. It's like, there's just something about like, I felt so thankful to be able to give anyone my time and then make a living, because what I knew struggle. Like, you know, like how my dad did it, you know, was like, sometimes there was lean periods. And yet what I loved about how my dad did it was he was a salesman. He went door to door with these, tool salesman, you know, a machine shop door to door. He enjoyed it. He was talking with these guys. He knew these guys. He grew up with these guys. And these are hard scrabble guys. These are guys who are sometimes felons, sometimes Harley Davidson dudes who drive their motorcycle to their machine shop and back. My dad knew how to hang out with all those guys, you know, so there's a sense of like, he wasn't only talking to the business owner. Turns out the business owner were always fidgety. You know, okay, enough fun back here. Like, that's your life. Right. That you're the guy that, like, you guys are actually enjoying what they're doing for 20 minutes. And you're the guy who has to come and stop that, and you make 20 more grand than that guy. Nice. You know, I just didn't want to be that guy on any level. I'd rather have nothing and be able to enjoy myself. So it's a weird thing. It's like the moment I got a chance to start to try to like work on projects, I just never let it be a no. It was always like, yeah, oh, we want to make that change. All right, cool. Here's how we're going to solve it. But guys, people, friends, whatever, client, understand if we change this, we're going to have to go and change this and this. Oh, I see why we're going to go back down to this. You know what I mean? Oh, I see. So there's creative ways to warn people like, hey, that's not going to reproduce right at this big or this big. So guys, make the right decision. And then, I just like the idea that they could call me really even at any time. If you go back and you look in the book and you look at like Cole Headwear or Union Bindings or the Snowboard Magazine,
mm-hmm.
talk to those animals and listen. These are incorrigibles, all of them, and I will list all their names. I'll just throw one name out in the world right now. His name is Jeff Baker, and he'll be one of my best friends for the rest of my life. He's a family man. And you thought I was going to say he was a felon, didn't you? He's not.
No.
This is a guy, all the people reading here, this is the guy who we invented snowboard magazines together, mm-hmm. whatever that means, or he invented better things to brands, right? And I got to work with him. And every time Jeff would call me, and I would say, oh, I'm tired or whatever. If he needed something, I would do it. If he called me the second right now, he needed something for one of his things, I would still probably have to fidget around not wanting to answer his email. Because he was dedicated to me and I was dedicated to him. And those are relationships that are special. Mm-hmm. And that's the first one off the top of my head. Who's the best one I can think of? I miss my buddy Jeff Baker. I love my buddy Jeff Baker. And I just saw him in Denver for just 2 minutes. And I'll always love that guy. And it's like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's been a couple that are horrible people. I'm trying to think of a name right now. I work for the Ted Cruz administration. I'm kidding. I'm lying. I'm trying to think of what are the worst people in the world. E.T. I'm not even going to say his name again. E.T.'s all the way at the top. Like Kellyanne Conway. There's a nice job waking up and doing that stuff for a living. Huh? Who else is terrible? Let me see. Web developers. Horse thieves in the West. Here we are. I'm back in the West. Who else? Let me think of someone horrible. Kid Rock. Okay, sorry. So, what was the question again?
All right, so I'm going to go to a different question. So,
you're going to get me off of this. It's going to get weird.
So, one of the things I love about you is your
Abigail says her company handled the cruise campaign. Abigail, how can you sleep at night? I'm asking you. Quit now. Okay.
So one of the things I think that you're brilliant at, and I think it's really difficult to do, is honing it down and taking out what doesn't need to be there in a design. But I also think it starts at that first interview with the client. So how have you perfected like your listening skills or your questions that you can, or does it take just as long as it used to? Or have you, because all your stuff doesn't look the same. Like if people really look into the book, like you are very prolific and you've done a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
And the stuff that you do for yourself or some people looks more similar, but you have such a range that doesn't, you've been very flexible actually if people jump in. And I definitely, I'm going to share a link in a minute of how they can get your book. And it's a big book. I mean, you could wallop somebody with it if you needed to.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Abigail, hi. Thanks for coming on here. And I know we talked about this. Now I remember. How you doing? Still, my tooth is rotted from that pile of donuts you brought to the shop. Nice to see you. But well, let me see here. First of all, Diane, thank you, because I really appreciate that you see the range. I'm a little prickly about that because, this is a giant, here comes the P word, privilege. I'm privileged to do this stuff. I'm privileged to be alive and in an overpriced hotel room in El Paso. We didn't pay for this thing. And we're stealing all the Aveda products and all the towels.
Aveda is the best.
I'll do shots of that stuff. But, like we come in here and I don't destroy this room. I don't do that stuff where like every towel is used and whipped up against the wall. It's like, you don't do that stuff. It's like, someone has to come in here and like clean up after us. And I keep, like Fred Flintstone's little plinky toes, like pink, 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 pink. I do that in here. I don't want to like make anyone's job uglier than it needs to be just because we're lucky to have AIGA El Paso put us up.
Right.
But it's like, thank you for recognizing what I wanted to show in the book. One of my favorite things to show in the book was that. Because listen, in this privileged spot, to have people coming after you, because listen, I know I got a big mouth. It's never meant to hurt anyone. It's never, maybe a Trump supporter, but it's never meant to try to like get me higher on a food chain.
Right.
Like I'm prickly in the book because I wanted to show that some of the stuff wasn't all that pretty, and some of the stuff, with Jeff Baker making snowboard magazines, there's 2 spreads that were making magazines together, and it was like, I could have put other things in those spreads, but I wanted to show that we pulled off the grid.
Oh, and they're beautiful. I mean, some of those spreads.
Right. I mean, that's every one of those spreads is us. It's me. It's my partners. Oh man, it's Martino who I miss. This is my brother now. Martino Fumagalli is my brother. He's my older brother. I miss him. We work every day together. George Kleckner from Union. These are snowboard companies, but George and Martino, the 3 of us, we kind of got that thing going. And then, there's like one of the things that I'm like proud to show. Go down a little bit. Wait. Go open that back up. Open that one back. Now go to the top. Push it down. Push up. Stop. Now look at that. See that young lady right there? Gretchen Blatter. This is a snowboard gal. Now, what I'm proud about our magazine doing, one time we showed a magazine. Okay, I'm sorry. It's heavy. I don't want you to mess your arms up. It's heavy, 3 pounds. There's a lot of ink on those pages. Our magazine, and we learned the lesson. We had one photo shoot where it showed women pouring champagne into their, they're like scantily clad. I wasn't going to be involved with that anymore. In our little snowboarding magazine, we had interviews with these things called Women and how they were changing the face of snowboarding. And this is small stuff, but that's how I was trained. That's what we provided. And we even had the women's issue. We couldn't do that every issue because, I mean, how many dumb snowboarders are there to like a couple of, little flower young ladies? There they are. And it's a bunch of dumb snowboarders. I get it, but I'm really proud of that. I'm proud that we made room to say she's great, she's cool, she's got a voice, she's got talent. Before you get to all that bullshit, saying she's pretty,
right,
or controversial. No, there's stuff there that I'm really proud to have shown. That's in the book. It's in the book. It's just little. But that's a little different than what we were up against, versus sort of objectifying things. We were there to say they're one of us, whatever. That's the way I've tried to, even like picking a client, it's the same thing. So, I'm a little prickly about that because let's just say that hurts when someone knows me as someone only as a one-trick pony because they're seeing like what's behind you, which is the logo poster. I love it. Thank you. Well, they're seeing that, and that's all they say. Oh, this guy just makes logos. They look all the same. If I showed 1,000 logos on that poster, think of how many I didn't show.
Right.
Due to someone saying, don't show our work because we don't want it to be pounded on by a bunch of logo nerds or whatever. And that's called being appropriate. And I would just be like, yeah, you're right. I don't need to put if there were, 1,000 logos on that thing or whatever it was, 666 logos. What about the couple hundred that weren't? I was just like getting the job done. Those are valid also. So, that's something that like, there's a little bit of that in the book, but there's other things that were just more like, I don't know, I'll just stop. I'll just say thank you for seeing the range. That's an incredible compliment. Thank you so much. I just, it's weird when people come after you. It's a privileged position that when someone comes after you and says, oh, that guy again, orange, Futura Bolt. And it's like, well, yeah, if I could sell it, I will. Prophets not every word.
You don't just design with one color and one typeface. You do it for each client.
Well, I mean, this is the troll culture we're in. We're in this culture where and I do it myself. It's not even our fault, you know. It's like you look at likes and aggregating, and you look at the lowest hanging little bits and pieces to play with, and it's like, of course people know you only for that. I mean, and yet I was really excited to feel like, well, maybe in this little book I could show that there was a lot of steps to take to get to a point where I could throw away a lot of my time just for fun, you know, whatever. There's pages, or making merch, or going on a road trip with my dad. That was a project too. It's not some money, but I wanted to show that we went on a road trip on Route 66 together. What are you going to show in your life? What are you going to show in your book? What do you look back in your life and say? I was on a phone call last night, and oh man, you know, like talking to the people where it was like, the woman said, what did you just say? You said that you take care of your mom and your sisters and your girlfriend. You watch over all those people. I said, what? That's not like I'm, you know, like, it's like I can help them now. I can help them with like money, you know, like I don't, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but what if you're the kind of person who has one uncle who's got everything? They could have worked for it, or who knows? I don't know. How do people get wealth? How do people get a bank account? I don't care. But I've heard stories where one person leveraged it all over everyone else, and everyone else is just getting by.
Right.
My life has been like, I was okay with just the getting by, and then when I got myself just a little ahead, and then a lot ahead, I can go make sure they're okay. Why have it? You know, whatever. So mom is job number one, and then it's Lee or my sister Leah or my almost brother-in-law Jacob, my nephew Albert. I mean, this is weird. You know, how do you want to live your life? You know, like can I work? Can I hustle and work more to make it easier for my family? I did. I do now. You know, and I don't need a bunch of extra shirts and stuff. You know, this thing could hit the old tide a little bit, as they say. You know, but you know, Lee just did our laundry one night ago in Austin, and that was like, I don't pack a lot of stuff. I bring about 3 t-shirts, a couple little pairs of Target shorts, a pair of jeans in case they want me to go formal.
Or it's cold. Don't you ever get cold?
That's coming. It's coming. No, we're down to Southwest Texas. That was like a science project down there. Well, they had Gold Bond and the sweat and tape and all this. Oh gosh, it's terrible. But you know, we had a blast down there. We ate every 17 minutes. You know, I'm keeping up my 9,900 steps or 9,900 calories a day and 2,000 steps. It's great. You know, keeping all my movement and all this stuff. But you know, it was you know, when we finally did our laundry, and it's like, you know, Lee was like, I don't have anything else to wear. You know, I mean, whatever, like underwear, shit. And I was like, I'll just take you to the Target. We're doing good. Well, you know, we finally did our laundry, so I have a whole new lease on life out here. I have socks I can wear. I mean, who here has washed your socks, Uncle? You know, planes, trains, and automobile style. Who here has washed your socks in a Hampton Inn? You know, wherever we were at. Like, I do. That's weird, but you know, I don't want to have to go like put the stuff in the. What? That's not even the question. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll do it. This is extended remix stuff. I know.
Do you remember what the question was about asking? It was. I love the ramble. It's okay. I follow that. That's kind of my train of thought. But do you think that you've gotten better through the years of honing down and asking the right questions?
That's right. My main concern is just to make people comfortable and make them excited. You know. You know, how do you deliver good work? You have to get them excited, and they want to work with you. They want to feel that you're giving them their time and you're focused. You know, and it's like, it's you know, by just trying to get people to be enjoying the process. That was always a good foot forward. And that's, I mean, have I gotten better at that? I think I've gotten a little better at how to, even nip things in the bud if things are feeling a little weird, or say no sometimes and say, well, I might not be the right fit, even though I know I can make something for them and figure out their situation and figure out their set of needs or what's appropriate or what is the right amount of like, oh, that's cool to look at versus this is sturdy and stable. I'm going to work for you guys for not just this season, but maybe a bunch of winters. I can do that, but I think what it comes down to is just creating this sort of like environment of them being able to come to me with, like, you guys want to know how you sell the logo you love? I'm going to tell you guys. Here comes a big old flaming turd of a secret from the Draplin Design. Here it comes. Tell them you'll get it Friday morning. Pull something out Thursday night and just say, I can't take it. I wanted you to see this. I had to send this to you, Diane. Take a look. I'm so excited. And people, it's not just a tactic, but if you love something, be a person and say, this came up to me really fast and it has some legs. We need to push it. And I couldn't wait till Friday morning to show you this thing. It's not a tactic as much as like, I don't want to be choked by a bunch of bells and things going off around me. I'm good. If I have my, it's hard to do this out here because I don't want to break your heart or anyone who might have tuned in, and thank you, everyone. It's scary because, we couldn't even get our times right. I can't even do it, it's just a weird thing. What about when you're on like business people and you're on,
right?
All these sorts of people who are doing this for a job, it's like, it's scary to me. And like, yet even when I'm on like a big thing, and like today I'll talk to a guy who works for a big company. He knows me now and the job that I've taken from him. I'm actually going to do a client job while I'm out here, which is a little scary, but it's kind of like we're just kind of production mode. And yet he knows if I tell him, hey man, you'll have that stuff by Wednesday. He knows I'm working on it. He's going to get it Wednesday, but we don't need to check it on Monday or Tuesday,
right,
or Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. Did you get my email? Because he builds in time to say he can still hang it up Thursday or Friday. Okay. I'm not here to make anyone's life harder, especially my own. So the idea of like just before we even get going on a project, just saying, let's enjoy this. This is going to be something that you may remember the rest of your lives. Let me be your instrument. This big 340-pound instrument pulled out of Aaron Draplin on your table, and you're going to use that thing to guide you to the, like a divining rod. Here's this thing, and God, it's yours. Like that's, you covered my time, and if we have to go a little longer, fine. If we go too long, you'll hear it in my voice. So enjoy the magical part, which is just sort of like, I'm here, I'm present, I'm ready to work.
Right. Which I know you have. Like, I don't know how you're able to do the tour and work. And then the other question I did have was, you work alone a lot, but and it seems like in the book you really enjoyed working with teams, and you kind of enjoyed the back and forth and some of the decision making. How do you get that in your work now? Like, do you have certain people that you go to or send your stuff to, or do you just are you able to look at it and critique yourself really well alone?
Well, I have two partners I work with. Two partners, David Nakamoto and John Fenister, who have been we've been together 8 years in this little studio. Now, do we work on projects directly? Once in a great while, but more like, I was going to say, Dave, my buddy David Nakamoto is an unsung hero of Portland graphic design. You wouldn't know about it because I'm a ball hog, like, oh, let me do another podcast. Oh, let me do another interview. Because I never got any of that stuff. And then when someone waves it in your face and you take it, I was at a dinner in Austin where someone was like, what podcast haven't you been on? And I just looked at her and I was like, there's something wrong with that? But these are all opportunities. And by the way, have you been on any? You haven't? Okay, well, I've been on all of them. And I made time for a kid who had 7 listeners. I made time for the one that was Mark Maron. That's just podcast. What about every little rat kid who needed their 5-cent questions answered for their term paper?
Right.
I did those too. I did those too. And like, no one knows about that stuff. They don't know about that stuff. They don't know every time I talk the kid down from the ledge because he has $100,000 in school debt. Right. So the answer to that, how do I do all that stuff? I work, and it's like, I can be outside. What do people do for fun? I know you've heard this in the talk. What do people do for fun? They go dancing, they go shopping, they go wine tasting. Wine tasting? Really? Oh, that's great. Okay, how do you want to spend your life? Well, I mean, I've kind of spent my life working the last bunch of years. I'm going to slow that down. I have to, because I can't be that for that kid who's freaked out. But I sent letters off in 1994, 95, and 97 to a band or to something, and they didn't write me back. And I don't need to list the names, but the ones who did, House Industries or something, that changed my life. Whatever that is. It sounds a little corny or whatever, but it's really true. It was like, the people. And so any kid down who says, is this Aaron Draplin? Answering my question, like, that's insane. Who talks like that? But it's like, yeah, man, it's me. I'm working. I'm a person. And, who I was taught that by? That was taught to me by like Wayne Coyne from the Flaming Lips. Now, whether or not you think he's a big, wild, crazy, acid-drenched psychedelic band, and they are, he still made time for every one of us after the show. The band is literally sitting in the thing, like waiting to go. Like, come on, dude, we got to go. That kind of feeling. Mm-hmm. And yet, he signed all of our records. Mm. That's it. That's it. It's like, that is the bottom line that I want to skirt the rest of my life. And it's not about being some kind of bullshit celebrity designer. No. Any person who's ever come to talk to me, if I can remember their name, I say it. If I can remember their face, I note it. And say, hey, nice to see you. Whatever. And it's like there's time for that in your life. We were listening last night on the Mark Maron podcast with Sarah Jessica Parker. Mm-hmm. Where they were talking about Louis C.K., mm-hmm. who now has a policy. If you try to stop him, he just says no. If you're going to stop him, put your phone in his face, he just says no. And it's great. I mean, all these people stopping with a rough life. Right. You asked for it. You can't be bummed. You have millions in the bank, and right. You can't be bummed. That's your paycheck. You can't go walk to the store to get a piece of pizza anymore, man. Sorry, you asked for it. You can't be bummed. So it's some idea that like, I wouldn't make time for some little rat kid who's got some questions about his school loan. That's one of these shows I'm doing today. I'm being paid to come here, and I'm going to do it. I'll talk to every single kid, and just because there was a couple guys that didn't. Whatever. I remember. It's all right. They're busy. They're so important. Blah, blah, blah. They're unemployed now.
Probably. Anyway, it makes a difference. And I appreciate you, and I know you're tight on time, and I made you get up a whole thing early. But I had one last question. I'm going to pick the one. It was about imposter syndrome, and I can't even find where it is in my thing. But did you ever suffer from, or what do you say to somebody? Because I feel like that's something a lot of designers, and I don't care if you're 43 or if you're 53 or I actually really believe you just have to keep learning and you have to be authentic. But what do you think? And how have you dealt with that, either personally, or how have you told people to kind of fly their flag, I guess?
Yeah, help me with the thing where you said imposter syndrome.
So I don't feel like I'm good enough, or I feel like I'm a poser and I'm posing because I'm not good enough as a designer, or I'm not good enough as an illustrator or something.
Yeah, but who's measuring any of that? These are things that we make for ourselves. I mean, it's weird because I find that very indulgent. It's like, listen, we're human beings, and you're freaked out, and you're like measuring. Like, you, first of all, like, and I know, I go to those things and I'm looking at, I don't know, the work of Gemma O'Brien, and I'm like, oh my God, I could never, ever do this mural like she shits out every couple of days, it seems. And that woman is just, she's cool, she's, young and vibrant and wild, and you look at that stuff and you're going, man, I'm stuck in some office making, stuff for some horrible, conservative political person, whatever. No. You just have to go measure it up, in your life and be like, until you get that paintbrush and try that and see that it isn't all that rough. She's a person. Excuse me. Is she gigantically talented, Gemma? Of course she is, But it's like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of opportunities to be like, I don't know how to say it. See, skateboarding taught me that. It was like, who's the best in skateboarding? Who cares? We're all together. We're all alive. It's fun just to go roll your skateboard around with your buddies, much less who's the best. Who is the best? Who cares? I mean, like, people measure each other and have to, like, I'm the tallest, I'm the biggest, I'm the smallest. And you spend your life for some pursuit of some trophy. 1 second. Like, what is trophies are?
I guess what I feel like with imposter syndrome is, and I do think that social media has kind of played into it, and it's like, well, should you share that? And I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm not good enough, I can't share that. And I feel like sometimes you need to share things, because especially as you're going, because it shows progress and it shows you where you've been. And I mean, you kept a ton of sketches, you kept a ton of sketchbooks, but so you could look back, but you were also working. You were like, I have to pay the bills, I have to do this, you kind of were eating those designs as you went. And so you couldn't fall into that self-doubt, maybe. And maybe that's like it is with skateboarding. You get on the board and you go. If you start doubting, then you're going to fall.
It's very humble.
Get back up on it.
There was, I mean, there's like little safe things you can do, little safe moves you can make, like be it in skateboarding or in life, that like, but it was the one time, if I think back to skateboarding, the one time I tried something, surprised myself, I don't know, caught the grind on some wall or whatever it was. We were these little kids doing this stuff, and like you had your youth, your physicality at your height of whatever that was going to be. It surprised you. Well, I get that same buzz with graphic design. It was the first time that I said, this is just fun to make.
Right.
It's fun to see this applied to your friend's band and look at how it just made their band look a little bit more fun and a little bit like, that's really exciting, and that was a very natural place. So it's a weird thing, like, I know how we measure ourselves. I do it also. And we say, oh, I can't do this, but I just, it gets a little indulgent, because it was like, I didn't have that chance to say, I had to make my rent.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I knew that it was not going to happen from 9 to 5. It was going to be after 5 that I got to go and make the things that were going to be fun. So I can only measure myself and say, well, from 9 to 5, I have to pay the rent. And what was, where those two merged, I could do the fun stuff from 9 to 5. That's where I knew I had made it. It's a weird thing, but I could still go back to that 9 to 5. Work with a group, take notes, listen, be a good little citizen, be a good little worker, be on phone calls about phone calls, and let's circle the wagons, all that, watching my language, all the stuff that everyone falls into. But it's like, no, I don't know. When you said imposter syndrome, I think of like people coming after you or something, like trying to.
Oh yeah, no, by feeling like a poser.
Yeah, I don't know about any of that. I mean, whatever, if you want, I'm looking behind you and all the cool stuff on your wall, and you looks like you collect these things, and it looks like they change too. I see how you do that. Those things can change. Those don't need frames. They can go up and go down. When you're not feeling that hope, strength, and courage thing, go get a puppy and line a crate with that thing when you're done with it. Who cares? Put the next one up, and it's like you look at that and you're like, any one of those things, be it things about dogs or bliss following or whatever, maybe some booze reference on there. I don't know. Like those, like go make one. Because here's the thing. It's like, let's just say that you never showed the work on a dribble to look for likes or on an Instagram, and you just made these things and you had your buzz from it. And you enjoyed making these things and you lived your life. And that's the best way you could do it. That's pretty cool too. We don't need to go measure, and be like, like, oh, these award shows I hear about, or, who's got the most addies at something. Like, that doesn't matter at all. We know that. But it's fun to go to those dinners and eat like an animal, and drink and pillage and, whatever people do with those things. I don't know. My time is better spent trying to invent my life in a different way, to get away with something that shouldn't happen, versus trying to go and be like, I'm number one in the community. My community is way bigger than like trying to mess around with just important. My community is my buddy Lenny, and my community is some rat kid I met one time in Akron we're still talking. I can't talk to him every day, but when I see Lenny Terenzi, God, I just want to just get right up close, just right up to him and just, how you doing, buddy? Whatever. This is that's a great part of this non-job job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, as I said, everything paid. I already had my rent paid before I did any going on the road and talking about myself or talking about design. I had my rent paid. That's called being strategic and pragmatic and practical. This wasn't some roll of the dice. This was like icing.
You were strategic for sure, because you paid off your school loans quickly, you paid off your house. Like, that was something you trudged through and you did what you took. And now you don't have that kind of holding over you. Now you can take care of your mom and your sisters and things like that. So I think those are really important. Family is important, but you do work a lot. Like, you were up last night at like 2, and I just had woken up. And so I, saw that anyway, but those are things like, I do want you to take care of yourself, because you're really important to a lot of designers that don't know you, but you really are somebody to, you act as that mentor. And even if they don't know, you're a great example. And I guess I'm super thankful. I'm super thankful that you had a book. I hope that you get another one, because this one's jam-packed. And I would love to see some of these a little bigger. Like, some of them are like, maybe it's just because I'm older and I need glasses. But like, some things I just wanted to see bigger and see, like, you have a finesse with your design, whatever grid it is when you're designing. And there's just a ton of space. Anyway, you're terrific, and I know you've heard that a ton, but it helps me to be a better designer, and it helps me to think about things and think about what I need. So I don't want to take any more of your time.
Listen, I'm like swarming, listen to all these nice things, because it's like, that's not why I got into this.
I know.
It's like, I'm just like, I'm all like, and then like, it's like, wipe it all up. Well, no, it's just because it's like, I don't know, like, thank you, Diane. Thank you for all this, but it's, this whole thing is just very weird, making a book and trying to celebrate that stuff. I'm really proud. If I didn't show any work and it was just these ideas of going for it, where do those things come from? Well, it comes from some weird little sense of like, we don't need to be the best in our team, or who cares about teams anymore, whatever. I remember going up to the snowboard hill, okay? Now, if my mom and dad were the ones that had us in a ski club, they didn't. Had us in the latest, awesomest gear, they didn't. We had to work for our stuff. It would have been a different perspective. We were always looking up at these things and being like, ooh, that's how the other half lives.
Right.
But what it taught us to do was to be thankful and persnickety about your details, looking at the details and being like, wow. And I'll tell you what, you get real detail when you work 2 months making pizza to buy your very first, what was it, a Patagonia jacket or something? I remember that stuff,
The jacket, the hoodie that you have in here, it's like an orange one. This one.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Like,
smell that thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just fun because it's like, I didn't need any other hoodies. I needed one. I bought that thing for $18 or $16 or 26, whatever. And I've used it for years. It's yesterday these kids came out to my van because we didn't have anything left in Austin at the table, for at least what they wanted, hats or something. I said, well, come out to the book, man. Come out to the van. And they came out to the van. And the kid goes, there's his jacket. It was like standing up on its own. There's his jacket. He points. There's his jacket. It's like, that's my jacket, man. He goes, where's the jean jacket? I go, it's underneath the orange jacket. Can you have your life? can you have a life where you're like, they would know you for that? It's just insane. You can. And it was like, yeah, there's my jean jacket, there's my windbreaker, and there's one pair of jeans in that Filson bag, and there's a couple T-shirts, and I don't need 10 of these things. I'd rather help people with that cash than try to need 40 more shirts. I mean, you got to keep yourself clean. I'm joking about that stuff, but thank you for the idea of like caring for yourself. Listen, I drove 600 miles yesterday, and Lee got into the room. Now she gets to sit there and make the podcast work inside the van, but I had emails I had to address, and I had things, not even just design stuff, but it was like links to send out for the next bunch of shows. That's me.
Right.
So I'm obligated to those things. I've taken this stuff on, and I have to be cool about it, and I can't do it from the road. And I mean, I had to send off a graphic for the workshop we're going to print today in a couple hours here. That's no one else is going to do that. It's me.
Right.
So I understand. Like Lee got in the room. We watched a little news, and then she was sacked out pretty quick, and got her 17 hours of sleep she's required. Well, I went to bed at 3 or something and slept until 8:30. Now, if I get a little weepy in a bit here, I'll go take another nap. We got the room for 2 days, but there is a weird sense of like, this is my shot to do it. Yes, we're going to be tired and be grumpy. Graciously, can you find time for every kid who wants to go digging in the van to go get a hat? Sure. That's what has allowed me to do this.
So Amir has a question real quick, and he said you told him something about a Swedish design agency, and you told him about it at Creative South, but he wrote it down, but he lost it. Do you remember what that was?
Amir, I can't run your life. I cannot run your life, but I can tell you right now, you people, you got to write it down. Your Field Notes brand, Field Notes.
That's right.
You can go to fieldnotesbrand.com right now, Amir, and you can buy some Field Notes. You can write stuff down in those Field Notes. You can buy a bunch of them. Get a 6-pack, get a 3-pack, get a 9-pack, get a 12-pack, and take that 3-pack and go break the ice with your friends wherever you're living, with that next door neighbor you don't know. You can do that at fieldnotesbrand.com. But you can also look up these guys that are called Snask, S-N-A-S-K, Snask. And you'll see my buddy Frederick, who just might be one of the only Korean immigrants in all of Sweden who speaks pitch perfect Swedish. But he is beautiful and he is awesome. And I think he was an orphan and he went to Sweden somehow with the family. And that's my buddy Frederick. And these guys are smart and they are funny and weird and build their own sets and they build their own type and books, and there's no book deal. They just made a book because they're just raging with creativity. And it's just I got to go speak in Sweden and hang out with those guys and get to know them a little bit and have lunch and breakfast and all this and do my talk for them, and they paid me and everything, and it was totally cool. And but how many Snasks are there in the world? There's not a lot. Because what you instantly feel when you're around those guys is you feel this weird sense of like, this is just out of their pockets. They're not making anything on this. I don't know if they are or not. They could be raging with extra profit and they're only taking jobs for $150,000 or not. And it's just really nice work and they're fun and they're awesome. And it's like, I can't talk about that stuff enough. They should come down to Creative South. You should bring those guys over. Maybe they already have. I don't know. But they should come down there and, punch you with their brand of Swedish meatballs because it's great. I mean, it's a lesson. It's a lesson that you can. I think they're working on a TV show right now. And it's their own little Snask TV show. Go take a look how fun. I saw those guys in Atlanta. And they had a band with them, and they were there doing DJ stuff. They were spinning tunes, and they had a bit of a stoner metal band with them, and it was just cool. That we're not just limited to making posters that say, I don't know. What do the posters say? It's got some stupid Yoda on it or something. What do the posters say? Just make and you'll be all right.
Right.
There's a big world outside of that stuff, you know. Someone should make a poster that says, you know, I can't feel my feet because I'm sitting on my ass all day long designing. I need to go move. Make a poster like that. Sorry about that. So, okay, sorry. I'm done.
No, so I'm going to share you the link to your book, and this is on Amazon, but really anybody can go on Amazon if you're on the podcast and you're listening, you can go to Amazon and just search Aaron Draplin, AARON DRAPLIN, and then you're able to find the book, and it's Draplin Design Company, pretty much everything Aaron James Draplin. So pick it up. I mean, I hope that's a good link. And then Field Notes brand, I'm going to share that link again. Brian already shared it for me, but I'm going to share it again. Thank you for awesome, Brian.
I've sold a mountain of them, so everyone's buying them. Thank you.
So then if you aren't following Aaron already, you can follow him on Instagram and Twitter. It's at Draplin, DRAPLIN, just in case. And then is there any last words that you want to say? I just want to encourage you to keep going and keep being an inspiration for a ton of designers, and just thank you for talking to little people like me. And I appreciate so much the hour, and I appreciate you getting up an hour earlier than when you weren't expecting, because I don't know how to do math.
Well, I mean, that's where, well, you guys, thanks for having me and thanks for listening. We're going to go to, you know, I'm in El Paso. No one ever, I remember the one was, are you sure you want to go to El Paso? Who like lives here? And it was like, I'll go to El Paso. It's on the tour, you know, and let's do it. So today is one of these fun days where these aren't supposed to happen. But all it took was driving for 600 miles from Austin to get here and figuring out this time. And then, you know, tomorrow, you know, tonight we spend a night here, and tomorrow morning we get up and we go to Albuquerque. That's so cool. And then Phoenix, and then Vegas, and then LA, and then, you know, this big Adobe Max conference. Will you be at Adobe Max?
We don't get enough money to go, so I have to.
Expensive, I know.
It's all right, but I always go to Creative South, and I go to this other college art conference.
Diane, you want to know how you get into Adobe Max? Just show up the next time, and I'll smuggle you in.
Okay. You can put me under your hoodie.
You know what? You know how you do this stuff? You just walk in like you're like some kind of like administrator. I've done it. You don't need to get into specifics, but I can't confirm or deny. But you know how many people have walked in at any given time at Adobe Max? You would be amazed. But I don't want to get in trouble. Is there a statute of limitations for smuggling in your friends to these big overpriced things? I don't know. I don't even know if there is, but I can tell you this much. At a Howe conference in Boston, my record was 8 people. So there you go. Hey, bill me.
So Aaron, real random question.
Yeah.
I'm just learning. So I was a snowboarder. I understand snowboarding, and I was goofy footed. Now I've got a skateboard, and I'm trying, because I live so far away from any mountains and I can't snowboard. And I've missed that part of just being outside and kind of carving the mountain up. So granted, skateboarding is a little different, but any tips for me?
Yeah, don't fall. You know, be careful. Well, we're not 20 anymore. You know.
I know, but I'm really short, so I'm lower to the ground.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I mean, you're. What are you? How tall are you?
5'1".
Well, so what? You know what? I'm 5'10", and when I lay down, I'm 6'8". One of my dad's jokes. It's one of my dad's jokes. Well, I would just say be careful and go slow. It's a tool. When you learn the basics of how, you know, the physics work, and, you know, just go slow. You know, don't go out and bust your ass on that thing, because we're not 20.
Right.
43, and my new hashtag is middle age. Hashtag middle age. You know, I mean, I went skateboarding a couple summers ago, just around the house. My you know, Lee's son is 17, and when he was 14, we got him his board or whatever it was. And, you know, I was just rolling around with him. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been 15 years, and I was scared. But I mean, it's good because you're using yourself and your body, your physicality. I want to get back into it, just to go roll. But here's my warning, Diane. You have to be real. I mean, I'm being in all seriousness. God, first of all, God, thank God you're not rollerblading. Thank God you're not rollerblading. You made such a good decision. Thank God. I've got past that. Thank God. Whew. Skiing is the rollerblading of alpine sports. There, I said it. Now, watch out for pebbles.
Yeah.
What I love about skateboarding is there's nothing more humbling than the tiniest little pebble being caught in your wheel. It'll stop you. Just be careful. So if you're going to learn, do it on a nice street with nice pavement, and go to a Target parking lot.
Okay.
Walmart or something, and just go cruise around, because I don't want you to get hurt, on a sidewalk where it discourages you. So go somewhere, and then just also watch and be careful for a little bit of incline, because you just don't want to get yourself in over your head and have to run off the board and then twist an ankle.
Right.
Because there is nothing worse than twisting an ankle in life or on a skateboard. So these are just little things, because as we get older, there's no way I could do it. Maybe I have some friends who are still totally doing at 40 and 45 and 38 and all this kind of stuff. But I have buddies also who just don't even lift their boards. There's no more grinding on edges, and so they're just carving, and that's all they need to do is to get that buzz. I just miss it. It's like I don't know. Maybe while we're out here with all this profit, I'll go buy a board. And
I guess I don't feel one with the board, and that's what I felt with snowboarding. But I was locked on. You're locked on.
Well, right, and snow is forgiving.
Yeah.
I mean, just so you know, this is going to sound weird, but if you go to your your civic center or something, and you see someone ripping around on their rollerblades, and they have a helmet,
right?
And they have elbow pads and knee pads. They're actually wrist guards. Yeah, they're actually on the right track, because if you're just learning, I know people like to point, until that person goes down and they're okay. Once you learn it, you get that muscle memory going. You'll be all right. But it's just this thing. It's like, just don't get discouraged. Go take it easy. But I just commend you, because it's fun to be on a skateboard. It's fun. It's random. It's weird. It's a little bit dangerous. But you'll see, because what I love now is when I'm in all these college towns driving around, and I'll look over and I see this girl, pull up on her Bob Marley longboard. But at least she's on a longboard. At least she's on she's out, 22-year-old girl, 21-year-old girl at her college town, and she's getting to class on a skateboard. That's so cool. No knee pads, no nothing. It's just another little tool. You learn how to ride a bike, Skateboarding is just, I don't know. I was always afraid that skateboarding would be this thing that would get too polished by X Games and Wheaties endorsements, but it didn't. It's still cool. It's still creative, and it's still got a really cool spirit. Mm-hmm. And that's where you can find, you'll apply some of that shit to your graphic design life. Things will be cool.
I think so too. So thanks for the tips, and just thanks for talking. And I hope you have fun today in El Paso. I know you will, because it seems like you have fun everywhere you go. And I can't wait to see you again in person and give you a big hug, and tell Lee and everybody else, hey, and just thanks again so much for talking to all of us today and giving us great inspiration.
Thanks, you guys. All right. See you out there on the tour. See you out there in life. Emails, keep it to a minimum. And thanks, you guys. All right, we'll see you.
Bye, guys.